what we usually do is we do some kind of rapid fire questions, and
Okay.
then we ask more of the, about your writing and your work and stuff like that questions after that.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and start. I usually do the rapid fire questions. Um, the first one is, what is your favorite word?
Crap, probably. I don't know. That gets uttered a lot with my son because you can't say bad words around a toddler because he'll repeat them, and I'm afraid he's going to repeat them during church. So totally yeah, that's it.
What is your least favorite word?
Moist. I hate that word. I hate it. I even posted about it yesterday. I think it's the worst word ever. I will literally stop reading a book if I see that word in it. So yeah.
What is your favorite curse word? You don't have to say it. You can tell us the letter or whatever.
Shit. That gets uttered a lot. That's yeah. But my husband convinces me because I really don't curse like ever. I really don't. I promise. But that's like my one like nemesis. My one word I always use, and he's always like, "Well, that's a dirty word. It's not really a curse word." So I'm like, okay. He grew up on a dairy, so in his mind, he's like, "That's just what it is." I'm like, all right, well, that works.
What are you reading right now?
Oh, I just bought The Hating Game. I don't remember who it's by. She's a brand new author, and it's really good. It's like a enemies. Well, obviously, I love books like this. Like it's like lovers and enemies, and they're like fighting, and I'm like, oh, this is totally like my thing. I love this. And so, anyways, now that I'm done writing all of like my new adult and matchmaker stuff, I feel like I could focus on on stuff like that, which is nice.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
I don't know if I'd like to attempt it again. I used to be a school counselor, so I loved it. I loved working with kids, so I'll probably go back to that.
What is the one profession that you would not want to do?
I would never be an astronaut. Heights terrify me. Like any sort of astronaut movie, I'm always like, why? Why would you even film that? Why would you want to be in that? I don't understand. Like my husband's like, it'd be so cool to go to space, and I was like, have fun, because we're staying here.
What is one thing about yourself that would surprise us?
Oh man. You mean other than I'm wearing like sweatpants right now? Like, it looks nice here, not. Trying to think. I don't know. I'm pretty much an open book. That's like a rapid fire question, so that's a hard one. I have to think like off the top of my head. Maybe that I never like with writing. I never think it's good enough. My books, I don't think they're never good enough in my head. Like I never like finish something and go this book right here. Like I always love them and I'm like proud of them, but there's always like this lingering fear that it's just gonna tank. So
What would be an ideal day for you?
an ideal day.
Mhm.
One where I could sleep in, and had Starbucks delivered with one of those bacon Gouda sandwiches that just got out of the oven. That would be amazing. And then I would get to spend all day writing without any interruption. And then around noon, someone would bring me lunch, but it wouldn't be just like any lunch. It'd be like steak, and with that steak would be a glass of wine. But I wouldn't get like tired from it. I would be like invigorated and energized so that I could work the rest of the day because I love working and I love writing without interruption. And then at the end of the day, my husband would make me dinner, and then I would sit on the couch and I would watch The Bachelor, and then I would watch any other reality show I wanted to watch, but it wouldn't get too late because then I could read, and then I wouldn't be up too late from that reading or have a book hangover the next day, and I would wake up fresh and happy. Best day ever. There you go.
That is a pretty awesome day.
Because I know it's detailed. It is.
Who is your celebrity crush?
That changes a lot. Is that sad? Like I change on a daily basis. I love Channing Tatum. I think everyone does. It's like not even a fair thing to say. Who am I loving right now? I can't think of their name. Sorry, he's an action. He's British. He's action. He's an action star.
Daniel
Really?
Craig.
Huh? No, I do like Daniel Craig though. I like a lot of them. I am one of those people that I do like daily stalks of celebrities, which sounds weird because I like to use inspiration for books and stuff. So yeah, let's just go with Channing Tatum for right now because he's an easy one to go for.
What are your favorite foods?
Favorite foods. I love Thai food. I love all foods. That's a really unfair question because I can't really pick one. Like I love to eat. I really do. I love chocolate chip cookies only if they're warm. I love Thai food, steak, Chinese. I can't have soy, so Chinese food is always something I have to make on my own, which is a bummer because I'm not like I can cook normal things and like pot roast and stuff, but I can't do stuff like that. So I will basically eat anything. Sushi, I cannot really eat because I'm a texture person. I know. My husband, like, I know that was almost like a deal breaker for us. But like, if you sear it, then I can eat it. It's more of like a texture and like a mind thing where I'm like, this is raw in my head, and then I like don't want to do it, and I get shaky and sweaty. Yeah,
What is your favorite pizza topping?
pineapple, extra pineapple. Yeah, triple pineapple. That would be awesome.
Are you a morning person or a night owl?
So I used to be a morning person when I was pregnant. Like I wanted to be up at like 6 and go get coffee and do all the things, and I was like, this is what motherhood's gonna be like. I was wrong, obviously. So now I'm a night owl because I'm a mom, right? So I have to wait till Thor's sleeping, and since I'm writing full time and a stay-at-home mom full time, it's definitely like I'm up till like 2, and then he obviously gets up at like 6 or 7, and then I'm like, why am I tired? I don't know. So yeah, it's my life right now.
What is your favorite boy band? Past, current, anytime.
Favorite boy band of all time is NSYNC. Come on. Come on. Come on.
Puppies,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
puppies or kittens?
Puppies.
What is your favorite reality show?
It used to be The Bachelor, and then a couple years ago I got addicted to Everything's Better in Essex. I think that's what it's called. It's like a British show. It's one of those things that you like cannot like, but all their TV, like you can't turn away from it. Whenever I'm over there, I'm always like, they watch this. It's crazy. But it was like, it's right, and their commercials even. I'm like, I literally just sit in my hotel room like, what this is real, like this isn't a joke, this is actually happening right now. So yeah, I loved that show because it was about these girls that they literally, I still don't know what they did, like if they had jobs, but they all wore fake eyelashes, but not like the extensions, like the real, they would glue them on every day, and I'm like, that takes like time, and they would be getting their nails done and their teeth whitened, and they were like talking about all these boys, and they would be using like these Americanisms that like they used them wrong, and so it was funny. It was like my favorite show ever. You should probably look it up on Hulu because it's hilarious and it'll make you happy.
I saw that when I was over in Ireland. Yeah.
Did you? That's awesome.
What is the last song that was stuck in your head?
The last song stuck in my head was Closer by I can't think of the people that do it actually now. I literally just was singing it. It's who?
The Chainsmokers.
Yes, thank you. I knew it was something like that. It was kind of, and is it Hazley or Hasley? I don't know. Anyways, yeah, good song.
What is your beverage of choice?
Wine, but since we can't drink that all day or put it in a sippy cup because that's illegal, I drink coffee. I have coffee right now, so white chocolate Americano. But since I'm kind of sick, I can't really taste it, so then it like defeats the purpose of buying it. But you know how you buy it because you're like, this is my comfort. This will make me better, and it has failed to do that, so that's why it's not gone. Otherwise, I would suck it down. I love like green tea lemonade from Starbucks too. Super good.
If you could commit one crime without being caught, what would you do?
Ooh, if I could do one, what would I do? I think I would steal all the books at Barnes and Noble. Don't you think that would work? I think I would just steal all of them, so I had them, and then I would, become a hoarder, obviously, and put them in my house. Yeah, that's what I would do. It's a good life choice.
If you could choose one animal, what animal would you want to be, and why?
I'd want to be a turtle because I love turtles, like a sea turtle though, not the Galapagos Island ones that are like giant, the tortoises. I'd be an actual sea turtle because they're cool and because they're in the ocean and they're really pretty and it looks like they glide everywhere. Turtles always been my favorite animal. I don't know why. Because they carry their house. I mean, that's really the only reason we need, I guess.
If you could pick anyone's brain, who would you pick?
Anyone's what?
Brain.
Oh, okay, sorry, I would pick George R.R. Martin's brain. I honestly was telling my husband this the other day, like, if I could just, like, not come across as a stalker and message him and be like, hey, we both write. Like, I know you're you who you are, you know what I mean? Like, I'm, like, nobody, but if you could just sit and just talk to me for one day and tell me why you kill everyone, that would be great. And if we could talk about Game of Thrones and just, like, I think that he's the type of guy, like, he still wears the same shoes he owned, like, 20 years ago. Like, he seems like that kind of guy that drives, like, an old truck still and is just really, like, with his cute old man hat. So I think that we'd get along really well and, like, shoot the breeze together, I think. I'm gonna start a Twitter campaign. That's a good idea. See, that's what you guys did for me right now. Thank you.
And my last one, what is your craziest fan story?
Craziest fan story? I did have a fan one time. I feel bad. She's really sweet. So she ran up to me. She was drunk. which happens a lot when people are in Vegas and when they give readers drinks, alcohol, unlimited amounts of alcohol. She ran up to me and started and cut in front of the line. There's this huge line, and just starts sobbing. I shouldn't laugh. It was horrible, like sobbing uncontrollably with like a half gallon of, I think it was Fireball, just bad life choices all around, in her hand. And she was like, shots, we're all going to take shots. And she was crying, and she was just like, this book just touched me everywhere. And she like did this, and my husband's like, ah. And so anyways, it was really funny. Like, I'm sure like now she'd be horrified. She's like, I can't believe I did that. But it was pretty awesome. It was like not really that crazy, but it was funny at the time. I haven't had anything like bad crazy happen. It's mostly just like funny experiences like that that just make me think that's the best job ever. So yeah.
That is all of my questions, but I do have a bonus one.
Okay.
Which Harry Potter house are you?
Slytherin. I had to dance. Sorry. I'm excited about that answer. I actually just bought a Harry Potter coloring book. Does that make me weird? Like the adult ones? I saw it at Target. Like, it's only $12.99. And so, yeah, it was that person. Yeah.
That's funny. Okay, so now I'm Ethel Jo, or AKA Natasha.
Okay.
So tell me about yourself and about your books.
Okay, so I have about 50-something books out. I wrote mainly romance, mainly new adult, a lot of mafia, and a lot of romantic comedy. I do indie publishing, so I publish my own, self-publish them, and then I also work with two traditional publishers and do mass market and all that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of like all over the place, which you can probably tell is more my personality anyways. I don't really do like just one thing. I get bored really easy with my writing, so I like to do lots of different genres. So one day I'm like, oh, I'm gonna write a vampire book. The next day I'm like, I'm gonna write Regency again. So, but I write the way that I read. It's like as a reader, I like everything. So I think that's where that ADD kind of mentality comes from, is I want to make sure I write everything too, because I think it's fun to spice things up. So yeah, and I publish like 12 or 14 books a year, and I do it full time, and I've been doing it since 2011, and it's awesome, and I love it.
That's awesome. Okay, so out of all of your male characters, who would you marry, who would you kill, and who would you have romance with?
Okay, so I would marry Wes from Ruin because he would be like the most loyal, and he's very athletic, very good looking, funny, but like not too over the top. I would probably kill Tex from the Elite series just because I would like to fight him because he's really aggressive, and I think it'd be really fun. That'd be a hot scene. There you go. And then I'd like to be romanced by Lex, I think, from the Matchmaker's Replacement, because even though he seems like he wouldn't be really good at it, and he, you know what I mean, like he's not good, he's all about sex or all about like whatever, and he has his hard exterior, I feel like he's one of those guys that would really surprise you and surprise you in like a really, really big way. Like he would be the one that does like the big gesture, and he would do it really well.
That I agree with that one. What type of a writer are you? Are you a planner, or are you just like I'll get to it in a minute?
So I don't plan anything. I have a couple books I can name off the top of my head that I did plan. Like I ended up planning because I had just given birth to my son, and I just had no time to write, and I was so anxious all the time because when I write, and like it's not a job to me, it's something that I love to do. So I couldn't write, and so it caused like this anxiety, you know, mixed with the fact that I just gave birth. Like I just had this like life-changing thing happen, you know, all my schedule's off, and I would sit up till like 2 or 3 in the morning, obviously, because he was nursing, and just plot out like every detail of this book, and I would be like sobbing because I'd plan out actual dialogue and then I'd email it to myself. So almost all the dialogue you see in that book was actually like pre-thought out. And to this day, I think that's probably one of the best books I've ever written, as far as like not just the storyline, but the dialogue and the way that everything kind of molds together. I recently, my editor has told me that I need to start planning a little bit better, because I tend to write a book straight through and I don't go back and edit anything, because that kind of kills my process. And so when I do go back through, I forget that I dropped little breadcrumbs of things, and I don't tie things up as well. So to like save time in the editing process, she's like, maybe at least just plan each chapter as you go. And I'm like, okay, because even though it's, you know, not work for me, it's a lot more work for them. Even though it's still pretty streamlined, it's, you know, it's more difficult because they can't read my mind, obviously, and so they don't know if I'm ever gonna like tie those things up, or if it's something they have to comment on, and you know, and the content stuff is kind of difficult. So
do you have like a writing zone? Like, do you get in your writing zone? Do you have like music? Do you have like how your desk is supposed to be set up?
I always have coffee with me. I always make sure that I have Spotify on. So for my birthday, my husband actually got me a brand new pair of Bose headphones, which to me was just like such, I'm like, these are amazing because I was just using my little Apple earbuds. And so, yeah, they're noise canceling and for flying and stuff. It's been really cool. So yeah, he got me those. And so I always do my Spotify playlist with my headphones. And I always just make sure that I have to have music on. I'm not one of those people that can actually be inspired unless I'm listening to something. And if I'm writing upstairs or editing or, anywhere else in the house, I have to make sure the TV's on. So even though it's just, I need to have like busyness. I can't do libraries. I'm that person that's in a library and I just start like freaking out because it's so quiet. Like, why is it quiet? Or people whispering, I don't understand. So I have to have like all the noise and all the stuff on to concentrate, which is probably the opposite of what's true for many authors. I do have my own office. I'm in his office right now because his office has a door. I don't know why mine doesn't, but mine is more like come in the house and go to the right and it's like it could be like a dining room or a sitting room, but it's my office instead. So that's normally where I work. And I try not to work like on my bed or anywhere else where I sleep. I try to keep it in one zone so that I don't mix work with, you know what I mean? With like, since I work from home, it kind of turns into one of those things that it kind of gets mixed up. So I try to keep it like, it's my job. So I'm going to go to my job, which is a couple feet over here, and I'm going to sit in my blue chair and do, work for this many hours. And so I kind of have to do it that way so that I can separate the two.
When did you realize you wanted to be a writer?
It's not one of those things that I thought about doing growing up. I was always a dreamer, so I would sit and just daydream all day long and make up stories in my head. But I always thought that was just a normal thing that people did when they were bored in school or when they, were, I don't know, not able to concentrate. And so when I was a school counselor, I was also working for the state as a psychosocial rehabilitation specialist, which basically means you go around and you work with kids that have like schizophrenia or DID or, any sort of pretty serious mental illness, and you help them, become like an actual like serving part of the community. And we pick them up from school, do all that kind of stuff. And so not only was I counseling, but I was doing that. And so I had a lot of stress from, like I would get phone calls at midnight, so-and-so committed suicide or so-and-so overdosed or, when you're dealing with kids that are, abandoned at 3 years old and you have to try to counsel a 3-year-old and then you have a 16-year-old the day before that just tried to kill themselves. It's just a lot of mental and emotional stress. And I'm not the type of person that can just like be indifferent and walk away from it and then not bring it home. And so it started really affecting me. And so I started reading. And what I did to my kids, those poor kids, I would be like, we're going to go to the library because that's really good for you. And that's going to help you, learn how to like get rid of like all the emotional stress that you have from home. And so I'd take all my clients to the library. So while they were checking out their books and we were working through stuff and like working through social situations, I would check out books. And that's when I really, really, really got addicted to romance. And I was like, I need to do this. And so one day in between clients, I sat down on my computer at work and I just busted out a couple chapters and thought it was probably horrible, sent it to my sister and she laughed and was like, this is really funny, you should publish this. And I was like, yeah, right. My first book was Every Girl Does It. And it's still up online, but every time people buy it, I'm like, ooh, please don't, because it was my very first try at anything. And even after going back and trying to rewrite it, I ended up giving up because I was like, my voice has changed so much. There's no way that I can like, it'll look disjointed if I try to add anything in it. So, an indie publisher found me, and it was right when publishing was starting to, it was right, I think Colleen Hoover did a post about this yesterday when publishing, it was like that boom, like self-publishing just hit, and all these indie authors all of a sudden, they were making careers out of it. And so I quit my job. About 6 months or 8 months later, even though I wasn't getting a steady income, because I was like, I want to do this, like I need to do this. And so at the time it was terrifying, obviously. And now you just have, you just roll with the punches. But yeah, that's kind of how I got started and everything. And it's kind of been, that's how it's been ever since.
So what's something interesting writing quirk that you have?
I'm sorry, what?
Like a writing quirk, like a weird thing that just, besides the music or the noise in the background.
I talk to myself. So, and I talk to my characters in my head. That sounds like I'm crazy. But I like, whenever I write it's not like I am, I don't know, like I don't think of rules when I write. I don't think about grammar. I don't think about anything other than like becoming that character. And it becomes so much like it's me that I can't separate myself from them. So people are always like, how do you make up all these characters? I'm like, well, they're real because in my head they like legitimately are real people. Like when someone dies in a book, in one of my books, I'm like, this person legitimately died. Like I just went to their funeral. Like you don't understand. I'm having a hard day today. Like so it's one of those things where like I legitimately do not separate. Like there is no like this is reality and this is not reality. Like to me it's all reality, even though it's an alternate one, I guess you could say. So that may sound crazy, but I think at the same time like that's what makes I think a good author is when you can totally immerse yourself in that world and let it become like your own world.
How do you get the ideas from all of your books? Because you go, I mean, all of your books hit different genres and they're awesome, but how do you get those ideas? Just what you're reading or what?
I take inspiration basically from everyday life. Like so many times this sounds horrible, I'll be sitting at Starbucks without my music on, so I'll have just my headphones on and I can still hear conversations, or I travel a lot, so I'm at airports and I'm always wondering about people's stories, because especially with social media, like you only see what people want you to see, right? Like you're only seeing what I'm allowing you to see on Facebook or on Instagram. You're seeing like one side of this huge, square that, there's all these different sides, all these different, angles you don't really get to see ever. So I always wonder, and I'm always curious about people because it's never what you think. And so I'll make up stories about them, or I'll see someone act a certain way. And I think that just human behavior and the thought process in and of itself is such an amazing thing. And you could be put, two different people or people that grew up together in, the same situation, and they'll have two totally different reactions. And I think that's really interesting to do. And so for me, it's just randomness like that. Or all of a sudden I'll, watch something on TV and be like, ooh, that'd be a cool movie or a cool book, or, so it's just kind of everywhere. I try not to read. So like if I'm writing paranormal, I don't read paranormal, because I feel like that's just setting myself up for failure, because first I'll be like, oh, I suck, I can't write this. Or I feel like too, like those thoughts can like leak into you when you're writing. And so like I always try to be really like right now I'm reading a new adult, because I'm writing, a really, a contemporary romance. And so I like to switch whatever I'm reading with what I'm writing, because I never want inspiration to come from that. Like I never want inspiration to come from, you know what I mean, from my own stuff. Like I love reading and being inspired and being like, this is amazing, this author's awesome, but I never want to be in that same genre writing that if I'm reading it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Do you hear a lot from your readers, like on social media or craziness, or do you get recognized? I mean, I know you live not that far from me, but I mean, do you get recognized, or do you get hear from readers?
I hear from readers a ton. That's probably one of my biggest things, is I always answer myself. Like I have an assistant and publicist and stuff, but I never have them answer my emails or my Facebook messages or anything. And so it takes right now about 6 hours a day to go through all of the messages and all of the notifications. I don't even look at my notifications anymore, honestly. So if someone tags me, unless I am their friend and I see it, like I don't even know. Because it's very time. My husband even just said, he's like, you have to turn off, the internet if you're going to write, because you keep getting messages popping up. And, a couple of my readers have my phone number, because for whatever reason I was in their town for a signing and they wanted to meet up, or, you know what I mean? So I get those texts, which is probably a bad call. I get those texts during the day too that, but they're all really, really respectful of like, I know you're writing, but I just want to tell you this really quick, or let me show you this really quick, and they do really great like online. And I've just learned to put boundaries up and say, hey, I'm writing today, or hey, I have to do this today, so you kick me off of Facebook. And they've been really great about, like, I'll be on Facebook and after I said that and they're like, what are you doing? Like they'll even like message me up, like, you need to go, and they're mean about it, which is awesome. As far as getting recognized, it's always weird whenever I go to signings, because you don't think you're going to get recognized, and then all of a sudden people are like, you know what I mean? Like I went into an elevator. This is I think it was at Austin Book Fest. I was like, I came in late and I had my luggage and I was like, like trying to rush the elevator. I was like, call the elevator, like that, like travel person that looks horrible that you're like, oh, she must have gotten off a plane. And it was a whole group of readers. I didn't know though, because you see Facebook profiles, you don't really know them. And all of a sudden everyone just like burst into giggles the minute that it closed. And I looked around and they're like, hi. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the best day ever. So I mean, they're never like, it's awesome. Like I think of my readers as my family and my friends. So I just tell people, I'm like, if I don't recognize you, it's not because we're not Facebook friends or because I don't, engage or talk with you. It's just because I'm literally like, just in my own little world. It's not because I don't care. And so, and here in Boise, I've had it happen a couple of times, but not like ever bad. Like I was online at Victoria's Secret once, and this girl like kept looking at me and Thor, and then finally she's like, "Are you Rachel Van Dyken?" And I was like, "Yeah." Like thinking like, what, like, we must have each other from church or something. She's like, no, I read your books, I'm in your fan group. And I was like, that's awesome. That's like, yeah, that happened like a year ago, and it was pretty legit. I was like, that's the first time anyone's ever recognized me. Then after that, it's happened a couple times, but never like crazy, never like crazy screaming or anything like that.
When you're not writing, what do? You hang out with the family, or just get away, or unplug?
I hang out with the family. I love doing CrossFit. So I do that with my husband. That's kind of like our hobby together. It's kind of something that like, since we do spend so much time sitting and working at our computers, like we have to get out. So I do that. I love being with my son, going for walks, which sounds probably so lame, but I'm like, if I could just go for a walk, for like an hour walk with him, and just go get coffee and just, take him to see all the things. That's really just how I unwind and relax. And I read, but I'm such a homebody because I'm gone so much. And a lot of times that's, just 24 hours here, 24 hours there, where I just go overnight to a signing. But it makes it so that literally my favorite place is my living room with my husband and my son and a glass of wine and Zootopia. So yeah, I have a really exciting life.
So what came about Kindle of Motion? What started it, or how did that dialogue get going?
Honestly, my publisher called me and they were like, we have a top secret thing that Amazon is doing. We can't tell you about it. You have to sign an NDA, but this is what it is. After I signed everything, they told me about it. And basically it was, moving pictures within a book. They didn't have even a name for it yet. 2 weeks before they launched it, they still had no name for it. They still hadn't, they were like, oh yeah, Kindle in Motion, and it had just gone up on the detail pages. So I didn't even know what to tell people when it had happened. And I was like, wait, is it a movie? And they're like, well, it's kind of a movie, but there's no sound. And I'm like, I don't understand what you're saying to me right now. So it was one of those things that like I didn't understand until they flew me down to Seattle for the filming of everything. And my husband and I were on set. And we got to see kind of like all the details of everything and how it happened. And the director was really great in showing us like, okay, now this is how I'm filming this, and this is what's gonna look like on the book. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So, but it was definitely one of those things that you can't understand it until you see it. Like it's so hard to explain to people. And there's only 6 books in the entire world that have it. So then I'm like, but then the other 2 are like children's books or illustrations, and the other ones are suspense. So it's hard. For a romance reader, it's going to be a totally different experience because you have like, at least in Playbook, there's a lot of hot kissing scenes and a lot of like, right? Like a couple times I was like, oh my, like flipping through, like, do I pause this? What do I do? So, I mean, it's just a really cool thing. It's a cool thing for readers. And it's something that I appreciate the fact that you can turn it off. Like you don't have to actually keep it on. So I had a lot of readers that would read it without it on, and then they'd go back and reread it with the Kindle in Motion. And I think you did that too. I think you did it and you went back and then went back. And I think that's probably how I would suggest, especially if you've never seen it before, because for me, like, I always envision the characters in my head, and if it's not matching what I'm seeing, I get angry almost. And I think there's a lot of people like that. Like whenever people, movie goes or book goes to a movie, they always say like, oh, the casting, and no, you can't make everyone happy. And so it's one of those things that definitely I always suggest people read it the other way first and then swap. But I mean, it's a really cool thing. And I don't know how Amazon, if they're going to keep doing it with some other authors, or if they're just going to offer it for some people, or how it works. So I know too, it was probably a pretty big investment on their behalf since it was 30 days worth of filming, and they flew everyone in out of New York. And I mean, it was a really big production, which was kind of cool too.
Did I see you in the back of one of the motions, like at the bar thing?
So my husband and I both had cameos. So in the first one, we were in the bar scene, we were drinking. They were supposed to make us a drink, and the drink ended up being like, mine was like whiskey and water and something. I don't even know what it was. And I was like, this is not, I spit it out the first time. They got that on camera. That was nice. And then the second time I was like, okay, so, and then another scene in Replacement. So we were in Playbook, and then in Replacement, Nate is lifting weights, and I'm like spotting him right as she like walks out of the gym. And so that's another scene that we're in together. But I thought it'd be kind of fun for us to use that as like a marketing thing too, and also be like, hey guys, look, Rachel and Nate are in here. So it was really fun though.
That's cool. What was the concept? I mean, I like the wingman. I like that whole matchmaker thing, and I kind of understood. I liked Lex and Ian, how they thought about it. What brought that to you?
Honestly, I just wanted to do a book about guys who are the matchmakers and not the girls. But like they're like man whores, right? So how interesting is this, that you're actually helping these girls find the perfect match, but you don't really believe in love. Like you want to help them be happy, but you don't think that it's actually like possible for you to have that happy. And so I thought it was a really intriguing concept, and one that I hadn't seen done before. And also really cool. And someone, I don't know if it was you guys that did the review, someone did a review and said that it reminded them of the movie Hitch. And that is where I got some inspiration, because I remember watching Hitch and thinking to myself, it's really interesting how he shows them how to be confident with who they are, or he tells them, how to be confident and how to fake it. But at the end of the movie, they realize that they had the confidence in the first place. Like the people were falling in love because they fell in love with that true person. And so I decided to swap it and say, okay, what if they're these guys that, they are notoriously like anti-love, but they get that you just have to, get the other person to see them for who they really are and see that other side of them, and then they're going to fall for each other. So the whole fact that he's, Lex is a hacker and there's a computer program, I thought is a really cool angle too, because in this society we live in, you have Tinder, you have all these different dating sites, and they do match you based on statistics. And I was like, well, that's something we could really put in, in the books and make it interesting. And my publisher actually, when I signed my 4-book deal with them, they were like, we didn't even have a title for the books. I didn't even know what I was going to pitch to them. I just had like one single sentence of, wouldn't it be cool if I wrote a book about, and I called it Wingman. but they wouldn't let me name it that because they said it sounded like wingman, like Top Gun, and I'm like, no, wingman, like a wingman. They're like, no. So that's where the Matchmakers playbook came in. So yeah.
Did you have a football player in mind, like when you were, because Ian was a Seattle Seahawks? Did you have like an inspiration for him?
Not really, because I was trying, and I looked at a lot of football players. That was a hardship, but I couldn't really find one that matched what I wanted him to look like. I think maybe, okay, so Ian Somerhalder is someone who he has darker hair, so he wouldn't work as far as like, since Ian had, lighter hair. But his dimples and his piercing eyes and the way that he looked, the way that he just has that overall, like his aura and his appearance would be, to me, like kind of my inspiration for Ian.
I love it. Football is my family's life, so I kind of.
Yes, ours too. I'm fantasy right now. My fantasy team is just, doing great. So.
My 10-year-old is beating us in our fantasy league.
Of course, probably because your 10-year-old went and looked everything up and was like, like knows all the information.
She called her godfather, who used to be a former NFL player, so it's not fair. So she.
No, that's not fair at all. That's not even a little bit fair. That's cheating.
Yeah, she's like, hey, come help me. So I love the banter with Lex and Gabby. Was that something you witnessed, or is it you come up with it, or because I like laughed out. Literally, like, was dying laughing some of the stuff that happened between them.
I'm sorry, what was your question again?
So the banter between Lex and Gabby, was it inspiration? Did you, how did that all come about? Or did you, like, die laughing as you were typing it, like, oh, this is good?
Honestly, that was, like I said, I become the person. I was thinking of Lex and, like, something inappropriate he would say. And the whole scene where she comes to his house and he's talking about, he has his glasses on, he's like shirtless with his little sweats and, just like mocking her. I'm like, I want him to be mean, but not so mean to where I can't redeem him. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But the banter has to be there because there has to be some sort of sexual tension there to where what he's saying is like, oh, you look like a man, you don't dress well, you do this, and then you're fat, you're all these things. He's like being mean to her, but really he doesn't mean it. He's saying the opposite of what he feels. And so I was like, if I could just have him say out loud the opposite of everything he's actually feeling on the inside, not only would it be good banter, but it'll be funny for them just to fight back and forth. So basically, that's kind of how that came along.
It was great, and that's what I liked about him. Is that
Thank you.
You have that love to hate him, but hate him, you really want to love him.
Right.
Amanda, do you have anything?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. Who are your favorite authors?
Oh, that's such a good question.
Who do you love to read?
I love Molly McAdams. As a person and just as she's awesome. Jessica Prince is one of my favorite authors. She actually has really good laugh out loud books that I've gone through all of them and now I'm like, can you just please release your next one and I actually beta read for her now? I'm one of those people. I like begged too many times and now and then I forced her to be my friend. You've been given a warning, guys. I force people to be my friend and then I taunt them. Who else do I love? I love so many of them. I mean, oh man, I can't even think because I love so many of them. I'm reading a CD Rice's book right now, or I'm going to be, Audrey Carlin. I love her. A lot of the authors that I love, I love them too for their hearts, not just for, that sounds so cheesy, but not just for like what they write. You know what I mean? Because for me, it's hard to separate like the persona that you see with these authors and then their books. I can't like a book but hate the author. Does that make sense? Like I can't do the opposite. So like I say like I love them too. They're so great. So because they're all, I don't know, they're all such nice people. And most authors, 99% are amazing. So, there's always going to be those 1%ers that are going to be like, bring the world down. But they're all so great, and they all work so hard. Abby Glines, she's another great favorite. R.S. Gray, I'm trying to think of, Christy Caldwell for Regency is amazing. Julia Quinn is really good. There's so many good books out there. It's ridiculous. I know Jodi Ellen just released her book, The Protector, and I just bought that one, so I haven't started it yet. And she's hilarious, and I love her. So, yeah.
And my other question is about signings. I actually met you at Chicago last year.
The November signing.
Yes. It was like the longest signing ever for
right, it was chaos. Alice Clayton had to start walking through the line. Yeah, good times.
Yeah. So everybody was really, really nice, but like I had never read anything by you, but I was so inspired to read your books after meeting you because you were just so kind and so generous. And you wanted to just kind of chat with us, just be friendly, and it was really appreciated after such a long
on your feet, just hating life and being hungry. I know.
Yeah, I think I lost like 10 pounds sweating during that signing. But how do you like? How do you have that so that you are able to interact with readers that well? Like, you just enjoy, even after you guys had a hard day too. You were there for I don't know, like 8 hours signing. What is that so like different for? I mean, I know some authors were really tired and getting grumpy, but you were just so happy and great. It was really, really, really fun, to actually get to talk to you and kind of made the signing more fun too.
Well, you're really sweet to say that. That makes me happy because sometimes I worry that, like, when I'm, especially if I start getting tired, that I end up getting that weird, like, mean face when even I'm totally fine. I'm just, like, look mean because I'm, like, thinking about food or, you know what I mean? I'm sure we both were thinking about food at that point. But, I honestly, whenever I go to signings, I always think of it this way, like, yeah, I'm going to some place and it's going to be a long day, but for the most part, I'm going there because of you. You know what I mean? Like, you're there to see me and you're there to see these other authors and, like, who am I to be like grumpy about that type of opportunity? Like to me, it's just so like it's mind-boggling to me when I see authors complain online about bad sales or about long lines, like and they're signing. I'm like, don't you want a long line? Doesn't that mean that like they're reading your books, like or like they complain about not making money at signings? And I'm like, you're not there to make money. You're there to make friends. That's what you're there to do. Like it just doesn't make sense to me. And so I guess it's because my outlook on it is that I feel so privileged to be there in the first place, to even be invited, to even be sitting there, to be meeting everyone. And I'm so excited to be meeting everyone that like having the opposite reaction just never occurs to me, I guess. I love my job. Like I love my job and I love meeting readers and I love talking books and I love the excitement I see on their faces, knowing that like maybe I put it there, maybe I didn't because I haven't read my books yet. But I mean, the fact that we could even talk about books that we've read together and experiences we've shared, like there's nothing like the book community and the ability to be able to like have that common ground from all these different walks of life. You know what I mean? I just think it's such a cool opportunity. It's like such a God-given gift. And I just love it so much. So maybe that's why. I think sometimes I come on a little bit strong. So that makes me feel happy. And sometimes I think I scare people. I'm like, hey, and they're like, I don't know you. But I mean, I always, even if they're not one of my readers, I always think of them as my readers. I'm like, one day I will wear you down and you will read my books. So yeah, it's always fun for me. And those are long days, but I always think like, you know what, there's drinks with friends afterwards and that time, like it's a small sacrifice to make to be able to meet new readers and give out my stuff,
Yeah.
I can't wait to meet them before you see.
Yeah. As a reader and things like that, we really, really, really appreciate, authors that really make it enjoyable for us, that really, think about the positive things and don't do the drama and stuff like that. It's really, really, really appreciated.
Oh, well, I'm glad. Drama's been a little bit crazy up in Facebook lately, so I've just been trying, like, I need to stay off. Like, I want just everyone to sing Kumbaya underneath a rainbow with a unicorn, like a unicorn with a book stuck. I don't know. It's been bothering me. So I'm glad as a reader that you appreciate the no drama too, because it takes away all the excitement and the fun out of it,
Do you have anything else? Any other questions, Natasha?
I am good. I just appreciate your time. I know that you have a little one, and it's probably getting close to dinner time for you. So we appreciate your time and doing this interview with us.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Well, thank you.